Welcome to the Daily Allegory through Astrological Divination. Today we're going to enter the scope of misuse of lunar magic, AI, and psychological operations against civilians, communities, or societies for personal gain, or to continue a family legacy for seats of power or false promises that truly were tests from day one, which most fail due to the degree and temptations. The stars decree, the covenant demands, in whispers we govern, through the elements we obscure, in static we command, in nightmares we pursue. We are earth and air, we are fire and water, we are the remembered, we are the returned, we are the whispers, in silence we thrive. We've got a moon squaring Venus today in the 4th, and the context of this is going to be the echoes in the network. Now, this suggests that old familiar patterns of love and emotional security reverberate through all of your relationships. It suggests a dynamic that is intrinsic to a blueprint that is a whispered legacy, if you will, through generations to maintain power and dominion over whatever it may be, good or bad. The echoes in the network, the metaphor provides a powerful way to understand this placement. The network. This could be a family, societal, professional, or cult-like network representing the web of all the relevant relationships with family, partners, or even yourself or locals in the community. Now, the echoes are the emotional patterns from your childhood that are constantly repeated into your adult relationships, whether from being groomed, from trauma, or psychological disorders passed from the maternal or paternal sides. It just depends on your family history. Now, how this manifests, the childhood script. This is the love or lack thereof you witnessed or experienced in your early home life, being the 4th house, that leaves lasting emotional impressions through the moon. When you form new relationships in Venus, you are prone to reenacting those old scripts, both good and bad. It essentially becomes an autonomous process that holds deep-seated psychological traumas and seeding. Now, when we experience emotional dissatisfaction through the square aspect, this can cause you to feel a constant sense of emotional dissatisfaction, a feeling that something's missing from your relationships, platonic or intimate. Now, it's a constant void or black hole that only hyper-escalates into adulthood. This becomes your instinctual emotional need through the moon. This is going to conflict with what you consciously value and desire in a partner through Venus. Now, this creates a push and pull dynamic. You may find yourself both craving intimacy, but pushing it away, creating a difficult push and pull dynamic in every relationship you have, again, platonic and or otherwise. This can manifest as internal anxiety that makes vulnerability feel risky or dangerous. Now, the network effect. The echoes in your network. This means that your issues are not contained within one relationship, but are projected onto other people. For example, a conflict with a romantic partner in Venus may feel like a replay of a conflict that you had with a family member, the 4th house in the moon. The path to harmony here, through this tension of the square, it's not exactly a curse, but it is a call to action. The work is to become aware of these echoes and to recognize the childhood patterns you are repeating. This is when we have ample opportunity to either break the chain or continue the chain. Now, by consciously observing and understanding these dynamics, you can begin to heal and build more deliberate, harmonious relationships rather than simply reacting old pain. It's kind of like remembering how things made you feel as a child and then just disregarding it and continuing that cycle anyways and projecting that onto your kids, further grooming your kids into that narcissistic family dynamic and continuance of cycle, not breaking the chain to create a new legacy, but continuing family patterns because of the familiarity and comfort that is contained within those family habits. Now, this is an endlessly repeating the same cycle with different faces, but it being the same demon nonetheless. We've got the moon sextile north node with cognitive architecture. Now, it describes how your emotional intelligence and deepest instincts, being the moon, are naturally structured to facilitate your soul's growth, being the north node. Through a network of collective ideas, group affiliations, and shared aspirations in the 11th house, this is going to suggest that your subconscious mind and emotional intelligence are already wired in a way that is conducive to achieving your ultimate purpose through group activities and social connections, good and or bad. Now, your mind and your destiny are in sync, and your path is built upon the very social systems that you navigate. The cognitive architecture explained is going to be your subconscious blueprint, the cognitive part anyways. With our intuitive social networking, you have a subconscious aptitude for knowing which friends, groups, and communities will best support your growth. It's kind of like saying things intentionally to people to follow the trail to see where it goes, ends up, and or just having that inner sense of knowing that somebody might be able to help you without actually asking for help directly, as it may be a jeopardy to something else ongoing in your life. Now, you're going to be naturally drawn to connections that serve your higher purpose, good or bad connections. Sometimes the worst needs to happen to catalyze that inner flame, if you will, reawaken you. Now, that's given that you don't already have people attempting to delay, stop, alter, or steal your destined path, where they collaborate to destroy any potential opportunities that may arise for you or your future. These are people that may know something about you that shouldn't be known. It's like, if you're secretly worth a lot of money or have something coming your way, they intervene essentially to steal that and collaborate with large groups of people strategically that hold communal roles that can participate and or help and assist them in that theft connection. They collaborate with a large group of people to commit this theft. It would be like human trafficking for scaled up for modern days. They're not just stealing people anymore. They're forcing people to have drug habits, and then they're weaponizing artificial intelligence to drive people crazy to exploit them in order to profit off of them on the dark web, maybe. So what they do nowadays, they might not steal somebody, but they steal their very essence by forcing them and coercing them into things and then exploiting that person for big profits. Again, at some point that would be tipped over because that's an unsustainable way of being, and nobody anywhere in the existence of history has ever, sat upon a corrupted empire and has successfully managed to get away with it. Even U.S. government officials have been caught in their ways. Keep that in mind when we think we own the world. Because God always has the final say. Not that God, to clarify. Now, when we are in emotional harmony with our aspirations, we'll see our emotional well-being, the moon, is inherently linked to your hopes and dreams for the future, being the 11th house. There is a cooperation, a harmonious alignment, which is the sextile, between your feelings and your goals rather than conflict. That's given that you are meant to adjust chaos by matching chaos with cosmic chaos and leading the chaos to divine order as a result of the aftermath. Ordo ab chao, it's one of my favorite Latin phrases. It means order out of chaos. Chaos is a necessity in order to achieve a harmonious aftermath. Without chaos, structure and order cannot stem. Because without that chaos, there's no frameworks. There's no point of views. There's no case studies or history to substantiate the chaos in order to flow naturally into a order. Now, the mental model for community leading development conducive to progress. You'll see your mind is built to understand and thrive within group dynamics. There is no I in team. That's why the most top tier societies and companies have a panel board, a board of directors to consult with in all matters relevant to. It's the same thing with like small groups of people that get together to do energy work. There's still a hierarchy within that for a chain of command. They still have a group that is superior to the others based upon their skill set and or comprehensive knowledge. There is still a team of people, though, collectively to brainstorm to avert disaster, maybe. Now, you instinctually know how to engage with social networks, share ideas, and contribute to collective vision in a way that feels authentic and purposeful. Now, the framework here for growth, the architecture part, we then engineer the structure for destiny. The architecture is the social structure you build and participate in, which acts as the vehicle for your destiny, which is the North Node. Your life path is not a solitary one, it's a collective journey. Just remember, not all who are alone walk alone. Some of the loneliest people walk with a spiritual team that would destroy entire worlds to ensure the MO goes as planned, no matter how strategically placed a physical network is developed and or state structure, not government state. Please don't confuse the two. Cult-like mentality state. No matter how strategic their power through communities and or official avenues may be placed, God will always destroy all that needs to be destroyed to create a more conducive to progress standing. Now, higher dimensions, as I said, will always hold precedent as the higher authorities would over a higher profile case. It's like a cop isn't going to handle a federal case. They might co-op and collaborate possibly with the bigger standing people where the subject matter might fall in their jurisdiction rather than their jurisdiction. It's like God superseding demonic presences. Demonic presences can operate with invocation and acceptance. I personally like working with angelic and demonic presences because, like King Solomon, they each offer balance in nature, something to learn from. You got to be a piece of shit to be a better human. You got to go through chaos to have life order. You got to live in the dark to see the light. You cannot appreciate one without the other, and the other cannot simply exist without the other. It is cosmic balance. It's just a natural law of being. It's all that is and all there was and all there ever will be is balance. So one cannot be without the other, but you need to be able to balance and maintain both in harmony. Now, group contribution is going to be key. Your purpose is realized by connecting with like-minded individuals and contributing your unique talents to a collective cause. Your greatest sense of happiness and fulfillment will be found within these social structures. With empathy and community building, skills are going to be developed. Skills being developed, your emotional nature makes you a valuable asset to the group. And that is the target, to be a high-value asset, person of interest. This is where you get sublime protection. Your capacity for empathy allows you to nurture and support your community, which in turn helps you grow. Now, how this dynamic manifests with our emotional investment in causes. You are more likely to get emotionally involved in social issues, humanitarian efforts, or collective goals. Your emotional fulfillment is tied to seeing positive change in the world rather than negative change in the world. Now, keep in mind, there are going to be groups of people who can identify these specific individuals in the community and collectively target them to isolate them so they are unsuccessful in their endeavors because something they do might be in detriment to their entire structure. It's like a ball of fire going towards a house of cards. That house of cards is going to do everything in its power to devalidate and deconstruct and dehumanize said fireball to ensure that the fireball doesn't hit that house of cards, because when that fireball hits that house of cards, there's no load-bearing walls in that thing, because as a point of reference, there's no honor amongst thieves, and the house of cards would collapse instantaneously and be lit upon fire, and it would be a tower that would collapse overnight. Now, creating destiny through friendships. Key friendships and group affiliations can act as a catalyst for major life changes and bring you closer to life's purpose. Again, there will be people that heavily try to engage others to destroy your life path or purpose because you are a problem with knowledge of their organization, we'll call it. Just make sure we are out here being productive in creation, not strategically collaborating to be destructive or ruin people, places, or things. That's just a bad path. Now, that kind of unwarranted interference would only reap major ramifications in terms of divine order. Remember, just because you can pay somebody to turn a blind eye, throw an investigation, or eliminate something that might benefit you, that doesn't mean that cosmic order was turning a blind eye. They are taking notes, and that scale is way off and needs an adjustment immediately. You're going to intuitively sense the emotional tone of social settings and know how to connect with people on a deeper level. Now, with shared purpose, the harmonious sextile means that your personal needs and the group's needs often align. It feels right to you when you contribute to a shared purpose, and this work provides a sense of deep emotional satisfaction. It's like people that are on the demonic path that collaborate for malicious acts and hide behind a facade of divinity. They have that shared, unique goal to destroy light for the darkness, not understanding that sometimes that light came from the darkness, and all you're doing is disrupting cosmic balance. And it never works for anybody. It never has, it never will, it's never going to. Even if something lasts 200-300 years, the grand scheme of things is this planet's been here for 13 point how many billions of years. So for billions of years, people have been, light or dark, offset, balanced, whatever, either way, and the scope of the length of existence of all things, the minute timeline of an operational existing is very small in the grand scheme of things. Now, we have a moon in Capricorn, the information tide before the tsunami. This is a powerful and insightful metaphor. It captures the essence of this complex placement where deep, intense emotions, being the tsunami, are initially suppressed or contained by a pragmatic, disciplined approach, the information tide, before eventually breaking through. This is considered a difficult placement because the nurturing and sensitive moon is in detriment now. It is in the sign of Capricorn, and that is in detriment, which is ruled by the very restrictive Saturn at this point. The information tide here, this phrase represents an individual's initial response to emotional triggers. It is a time of pragmatic processing. Instead of immediately reacting with an emotional outburst, the moon in Capricorn individual observes, collects data, and analyzes the situation. With emotional suppression, they are often conditioned to view emotions as a liability or a weakness and therefore wall off their vulnerable inner self. With a hyper-focus on control here, these individuals prioritize maintaining their composure and a sense of emotional discipline, especially in front of other people. This is a mask, if you will, and it is one that at this point, with these placements in detriment, they are not wearing very well. It usually ends up blowing up in their face because it only further exposes how corrupt or codependent they are in their ways and their personal agendas. With calculated insights, their intuition may not feel like a sudden flash of insight, but rather a slow, steady, and calculated understanding of the long-term emotional effects of a situation. Now, this is the emotional tsunami led by a landslide of events. The repressed feelings do not disappear. They simply build up pressure over time like a pressure cooker. The tsunami is the eventual result of this suppression, and it can manifest as uncontrolled emotional release. When their controlled approach fails, the dam breaks, and the full force of their intense pent-up emotions burst forth, often without warning. Kind of like manic cycles, pattern behavior of outbursts is self-sabotage in a multitude of realms. It's just an explosion that is completely inevitable. With these cycles of melancholy, this placement is prone to existential angst, melancholy moods, and deep-seated fears that can lead to cycles of pessimism and self-criticism, leading to a sudden mood shift. Now, after a period of appearing perfectly calm, they can become uncharacteristically emotional or overwhelmed if they don't have a safe space to process their feelings. Or in other contexts of subject matter, they don't get their way because no isn't a common word their neurons are wired to process, as it is a complex process that supersedes the processing power and capabilities of their own personal cranial bandwidth. Now, eventually leading emotional breakthroughs. The tsunami doesn't have to be destructive, but it will be. In most cases, when confronted, the buildup of emotion can lead to a healing breakthrough that helps them release old patterns and move forward. But the individual must be willing to let go of old patterns, utilizing pattern recognition of their own faults to truly move on and move forward. That would also include 302, forced realization of their long-term standing repercussions of their actions, going to jail. Forces people to sit in a small cell and think for very long periods of time. These are usually times where they are forced to reflect. And then not existing isn't an option, as there's more eyes on you than you're more comfortable with, as there might be now, when some people are under a microscope getting entirely dissected by the energies that be. Power of 3, am I right? How's that working out? Not too good, I guess. The path to resolution here. Now, the journey for a moon in Capricorn involves finding a balance between their need for structure and their need for authentic emotional expression. The goal is to avoid the eventual tsunami by allowing the tide to come in and out more freely. This does require a non-resistance and willingness to comply with the energies that be, and they definitely supersede any powers that might have previously existed. Inevitability is a hell of a thing. And authority and power usually respects inevitability because it's inevitable. Now, once we create safe containers for emotions, or of the self, they can learn to express vulnerability in a controlled setting, such as therapy sessions or through creative projects like journaling or art. That's hoping that the tsunami doesn't land them in prison or a mental institution, but depending on the circumstances, this is the only outcome, unfortunately, due to an inherent need for control and domination, due to an attack on the ego, where I'm mad. Please. Now, when we recognize the information tide, we can learn to view their feelings not as an obstacle, but as a valuable source of information that needs to be processed, not pushed away. And it'll be processed. Now, with steps to build inner resilience, the goal is to build an inner seawall that isn't impenetrable, but sturdy enough to contain the emotional tide without blocking it entirely. It's like Alcatraz is in the middle of the sea. That the seawall contains all those hyper charged people. I got some numbers here. For balance, we got an angelic presence and a demonic presence coming out naturally. I got 13. Now, based on the sources, the 13th angel of the Shemhan Farash is Lezalel, or Yazalel, or Yazalel. Now, about this angel, the biblical reference, the name of Lezalel, is derived from the Hebrew letters found in Exodus 14, 19 to 21. The associated biblical verse is Psalms 98, verse 4. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. All the earth make a loud noise and rejoice and sing praise. Loud, like a volcanic eruption or tsunami. Now, the attributes of Lezalel, he's traditionally associated with friendship, reconciliation, and loyalty in conjugal relationships. Those born under the angel's influence are believed to learn with ease, have happy memories, and be eloquent. Lezalel belongs to the choir of the cherubim, and in some cult traditions, Lezalel is said to rule over the goetic demon Belith, but I don't like the term demon, I like spirit. It's more respectful to the energy that can teach you quite a lot about yourself and the world from an alternative perspective without going unhinged and attacking other people. These are teachers. They are mentors. Tutors, if you will. Not teachers that fart. Tutors. Referencing a video my girlfriend sent me on TikTok. It was funny. Now, we have the 39th Spirit of Solomon here. Malthus. One of my personal favorites because it is the Raven. Now, Malphus is a mighty prince of hell, commanding 40 legions. Malphus has the power to build houses, high towers, and strongholds, but he can also tear them down. He can tear down enemy defenses, destroy their desires and thoughts in real time, and assist the conjurer in finding skilled craft people. Now, the warning with Malphus, unfortunately, is while he does appear to be friendly, and as a bird, he does not flock with the bird of a feather. He is a lone raven, wise mentor. Now, he is known for deceiving others who might give him offerings. This can happen if Malphus already is subservient to another practitioner and protects the inherent interest of the universe over and above some physical human agenda, especially when spiritual warfare is in question and the person Malphus might be subservient to trumps spiritual hierarchy in terms of abilities, skill, and or spiritual standing. Usually you have to die and come back to get there, though. I'm sure everybody does that. It's a regular thing. That's all I have for today. Hopefully everybody's making good choices. See you in the next one.